So how do we convert one data type to another in Python? There are several built-in functions to perform conversion from one data type to another. For example, the int function that takes x as the first parameter, which can be a string. So it will convert that to an integer format, and the optional parameter here is base. So if the base of that integer is provided, uh, so it will convert to that base integer from the string x. Similarly, we have the floating point and complex functions and other functions like tuple and list. It will convert to respective data types from that parameter, where s can be a string as well. So if s is a string, it will convert to list and so on. So this is continued from previous slide. So we have the function frozen set that converts the set S to a frozen set. That means that frozen sets are immutable and sets are mutable. So it converts a set to a frozen set, and many more other. So next we see control structures in Python, basically handling conditions. So we use if else to handle conditions. So if a condition is true, we execute this code, or if it is false, we execute some other code, as we'll see in other coming up slides. So here the output is shown here. Next we observe a simple example of nested if else. So we have entered a number from the user and assign it to num, and if num is divisible by 2 and 3, it will print divisible by 3 and 2. Otherwise, if it is divisible by 2 and not divisible by 3, it will print divisible by 2 and not divisible by 3. Similarly, if it is not divisible by 2, it will skip this block of code and move on to the else part, where if num mod 3 is 0, it will print divisible by 3 and not divisible by 2. Else, it is not divisible by 2 and not divisible by 3. So the output for the previous example is shown here. On the console, if we enter 8, it will print divisible by 2 and not divisible by 3. On the other hand, if we enter 15, it will print divisible by 3, not divisible by 2. And if we enter 12, it is divisible by 3 and 2. And we enter 5, then not divisible by 2 and not divisible by 3. Next, we discuss the for loop in Python. So for iterating from within a range of numbers in Python, or within a sequence in Python, we have the for loop, where we start with an initial value and loop till the end of that sequence or that range, and execute few statements according to that written code inside that for loop. So syntax is like this: for iterating where in sequence statements, and the example is, this is a fruits list, and for fruit in fruits we can print the required output here, that will output like this. Next we have the while loop. So while loop execute till a condition is true, and the statements within execute till that condition is true. So this is the syntax here. Example is something like this. So while count less than 5, we are incrementing count within the loop, and print the count is count. So it will output something like this. When count is 0, it will get incremented one by one, and finally when count is equal to 5, this loop will break. So it will output like this: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. How do we read input from console? We use the input function. Along with that, we pass the parameter that prompts the user to type something, or that comes up on the console before the user enters anything. So if we type like this in the interpreter, it will prompt something like this, something, and we enter 10. It will be assigned to x, because this 10 will be returned as the output of this input function, and it will be assigned to x. Then when we enter x on the interpreter, it will output 10. And similarly, if we enter the string 10, it will be within double quotes. So anything entered in the console is a string in Python. Functions in Python. A function is a block of organized, reusable code that is used to perform a single related action. Functions provide better modularity for the application and a high degree of code reusing. So functions basically couple together useful piece of code that are performing a specific action within your program, and they can be called again and again by various parts of your program so that that specific task is performed again and again. So a function takes set of arguments to itself and outputs return value that can be returned from the function to the calling code. The syntax for function is like this: using the def keyword, and function name comes up next, and then within brackets the parameters and a colon, and within indentation this block of code which is the function code, and which starts with function docstring. So docstring is in double quotes, which specifies that the documentation for this function, which is what this function is used for. Next comes the function suite that includes the code for that program, I mean the function, and then finally the return keyword along with the value that is going to be returned. So this expression will be returned from this function. So example is define printme str is this prints a pass string into this function. This is the doc string for this printme or print me, and this prints the passed str parameter and simply returns from this code without value. So this is not returning anything, basically it is just returning from this function. How do we handle file input output in Python? So basically we have few functions in Python that are handling file input output. Examples are the open function that take the file name as a parameter and the mode in which to open, whether to write or read, and the write function that writes text to the uh, file variable, which is fo, and finally we can close the open file with fo.close, so it will save the file contents. So, and when we open this file foo.txt, so it will have the following contents like this. Similarly, to read data from a file, we can use the open function again with the mode as r plus, and it will, for reading 10 characters, we can pass fo.read 10. It will print read 10 characters and print to the output the same. Now we shall see object-oriented programming features in Python, specifically the class. Python has an object-oriented language paradigm since the time it existed. Due to this, creating and using classes and objects are downright easy. So we have this class person, the class name is person, and it has a for say hi function here to here as the method in this class. So if we can initialize this variable p with this person class, it will be an object of this class person, and p is the object and person is the class. So if we write p dot say hi, it will print hello, how are you. So how do we define constructors in Python? So we do it like with the help of underscore underscore init underscore function, which is called a class constructor or initialization method that Python calls when you create a new instance of this class. So when you call p is equal to person Swarupa, it will call this constructor with this additional argument name and initialize its property name to this pass variable here. And whenever we say p dot say hi, as in this example, it will print hello, my name is that property, name property. So it will print Swarupa here. Next we discuss inheritance in Python. So we can write like this: class B and in brackets A, so that B inherits from A, so it takes all the methods inside A as additional methods inside B. So the example continues. When we define the variable object P is equal to an instance of B class, and we say P dot hello, so it will print I am a superclass here. And if we print P dot by, it is a method of B class already, so it will print I am a subclass here.